Hello, had a rather interesting email earlier on. It was a young graduate designer who was asking me what the differences were between agency work, in-house work, and freelance work. So I thought it was quite an interesting topic to talk about on a video. So here we go. So first of all, we'll format it like this. We're going with the pros, the cons of an agency, the pros and cons of a in-house role, and the pros and cons of a freelance role. So let us begin. So the pros of an agency: you're constantly exposed to other creatives. You're surrounded by them, good creatives and kind of okay creatives. But you're surrounded by these people all the time, and it's inevitably going to be rubbing off on you. And it's a really good thing to be kind of, especially around the early stages of your career when you really need to kind of be cementing your standards, and just being exposed to what to do and what not to do, and you're going to be learning from people who are vastly more experienced than yourself. And it's just an amazing experience to be a kind of a graduate level kind of creative and entering an agency full of like hot shots and top guns, so there's that to consider. It's an amazing thing. So yeah, I'd recommend that if you get the chance to work for an agency. That's not to just say you absolutely have to do it. You don't absolutely have to do it, but it's a big kind of accelerator. So what we got next? Okay. Yeah, you get a better feel for it as an actual business, as a commercial entity, because obviously the monetary value of creativity can be a very fluid and kind of a elastic thing. And so, as an agency worker, you're in there, you're getting a real feel for it. You'll probably have to fill your timesheets out. You might get to see what they're charging for your time, which might make you feel a bit disgusted because they're going to be charging way more than what they're paying you. But this is for the larger agencies, to be fair, and so the medium agencies actually. But yeah, they're running a business, and they have to cover your downtime as well. So inevitably, your hourly rate is going to be like a junior probably be charged out at £70 an hour, and they're paying you £15 an hour. So there's that to consider. So it's worth experiencing it though, because it definitely gives you a much more commercial sense of creativity, which is, I think, where a lot of creatives struggle, because it's for us, it's a spiritual, ethereal thing that's part of our fucking being, and to kind of see it commercialized and hoard out like that can sometimes leave a bad taste in your mouth. But it's necessary. It's a necessary evil, because if you don't do it, you won't get paid, and then your landlord's not happy, etc., etc. So then working in an agency is better for networking. You're going to be meeting again a lot of creators around you. They'll be changing job, moving to other agencies, moving to other roles in-house perhaps, and you will keep in touch with them. And if something comes up where you want to jump ship, there you go. You're all sorted out. Hopefully anyway. As long as you're nice to people and you're generally quite polite and pleasant, there's no reason why you can't kind of leverage your contacts. Next thing, you get to see the ugly egotistical side of it. You'll see people having meltdowns about their creative work because they care so much about it. That's the thing. And it is an egotistical thing. I mean, everyone wants to be Picasso. That's just the reality of it. We get into this thing and we're in it, and we're told from when we're kids, if we've got any talent, oh, you could do this, you could do that, and kind of expectations aren't met as an adult. And then when you finally make it through to agency side and get some clients in there, and then they're saying, "No, it's not right." It can be soul destroying, and it will test you, and hopefully it'll give you a thicker skin rather than put you off, because at the end of the day, it's good. It's life. Next thing, you're going to get a lot of opinions from this kind of account handlers, non-creatives, who are working in an agency, and just because they're working in a creative agency, they think they're creative, and they're not. Nothing wrong with account handlers. Most of them are good. It's the odd one you'll get who's kind of trying to art direct you. And you'll just want to slap them in the fucking mouth, because they're not your fucking art director. They're the account handler. So yeah. Anyway, definitely didn't get that from bitter experience. The reason, the reality of agencies, it actually does start to feel quite ordinary after a while. You get a job, say your AKQAs, your Razorfish, your kind of Ogilvies, and once you're in there for a couple of months and you get used to it, you just start to feel normal. And it's kind of weird. It's almost disappointing. You know what I mean? It's a funny feeling. Especially for as a creative entity, these guys got such good reputations, and they're always in the media, and there's creative directors doing interviews and stuff like that, and you just think, wow, this is just totally ordinary. And it isn't ordinary at all. You just get used to it. So yeah, and that's a good sign if you're actually getting used to it, because it means you're becoming more like that. And yeah, so I think that's a plus. I think it's definitely a plus. So generally speaking, agency experience makes you more employable. That's a fact. You're exposed to a lot of different clients, and yeah, it will make you more employable. Simple as that. The cons of the agency model: potentially long hours. Yeah, especially when they're pitching. You might be there till 2 a.m. I've been working till 2 a.m. on pitches before. I thought it was amazing fun, but I wouldn't want to carry on living my life like that and having that as a career, because it's too much. You know, it's not good to be there kind of making amends to a pitch at 1:30 in the morning. Yeah, even if they do give you beer. So cheers. Yeah, it's a little bit cutthroat actually in the agency, because you're all at the same level and you all want to level up. And it can be, if some people get the opportunity to throw you under the bus, they'll take it. And that's just life. So, yeah, it can be a bit cutthroat. Much more so than an in-house role, because you'll be the only designer there. Or you might be on one of a couple, but, it won't be as much of a kind of a race to the egg for the sperm. Okay, there's a lot of ego involved in an agency. That's it can be a good and a bad thing. So here's the dark side of it. You'll have people who are just arseholes. They'll be really good creatives, but some of them can just be dickheads. It's the way it is. There's nothing to do about that. But yeah, you'll see the dark side of the ego, and people get their fucking dreams crushed. They wanted that big pitch and they lost it, and they have to let people go. And that's part of life. It's tough as fucking boots, but that's the way it is. Burnout's a possibility, because you're going to be getting obsessed with it. You're going to be constantly thinking about it. You're going to be working those long hours, and a lot of creators, they end up with drug and alcohol problems. Not looking at anyone. I don't really do drugs. And that's just the way it is. Your mental health needs to come first when you're doing that stuff. So, if you do yoga meditation, that's a really good way of offsetting a lot of the stress rather than just hitting the booze. And there's kind of a reputation around it, like that's gone right back to like the Mad Men type thing in the 50s. So you just got to watch out for stuff. It's just ego traps and pitfalls like you get in any area of life. If you're a large agency and the client's marketing director switches, or they get a new marketing director, and he just wants to use his own agency, everybody might just lose their job, depending on how well the model is set up. If it's one, I've seen agencies that are dependent on one client turning over like $100,000 a month, and all of a sudden they've gone, nah, sorry, our contract's up now, we're switching agencies, so everyone goes home and doesn't come back to work the next day because there's no job. So it is fucking brutal, but it's the way it is. Again, I'm using the word reality in this a lot, because creative and design in general are kind of shrouded in this almost ethereal sense of mystery. And I think it's important to just shine a light right through that and see it for what it is. It's a brilliant thing, and I'm ever so grateful to have the career I've had. But it's not all sunshine and lollipops. I can tell you that now. So before we move on to the in-house pros and cons, let's talk about large agencies versus small agencies. So a small agency will be a bit more hands-on. You'll be a jack of all trades. It's cool. It's a great experience working at a small agency. If you're a web designer, you might be doing a bit of development. If you're an animator, you might be doing a bit of illustration, or vice versa. And that's I think that's a really cool thing. I mean, I'll definitely recommend working at a small agency over a large agency anytime. It's a little bit, it's different, and it's also a lot less corporate. Inevitably, a large agency will become more corporate as it matures and grows, and it just becomes a corporate entity. And do I think that means it's lost its soul? Not necessarily, but I think there's an element of soul loss to it that you can't avoid. It's going to be a corporate entity. You're going to have hotshot creative directors in there, but I'm not sure about it. Anyway, small agencies are, for me, the way to go. Large agencies, it depends on how they're set up, but some of them it can be a bit more closer to in-house work, where you're just working on that one client. You're part of the, in AKQA series, they'll have like the Nike team, and they'll be your client, and you won't be working on anything else unless you request a transfer to another team or whatever. I mean, if you're like a specialist, like a 3D guy or a Photoshop retoucher or something, you'll probably be spread around the clients a bit more, because there won't be that much work per client as there will be for something like a graphic designer or maybe a concept or a copywriter guy. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So let's move on. The pros of in-house work. Job security is one. You're the only creative guy there. They're giving you all the work. They're not using an agency, so you're pretty much secure. If they're the type of business that's big enough to need creative support, you will have all that work on your plate, and you'll have your annual leave and your salary and everything. I don't want to say it's cushy. You're still a warrior with your spear. You're still a creative, and you're still an artist, and all artists are warriors. But you're just not fighting as many battles, I would say in-house is it's a bit closer to being a farmer than a hunter, because you've already got your livestock you're just looking after. Kind of a weird analogy, but there you go. You do garner an intimate knowledge of the brand and the business, which is amazing. So again, it's a really good thing where it's kind of going to give you an understanding of businesses outside creative work, if you're kind of savvy to it and you're interested in learning. And that's an amazing thing as well, because if you ever want to start your own brand, you might not want to be creative, you might just want to start your own brand, and it'll give you a good, interesting insight as to how businesses run. And it's all just people buying and selling from each other, and kind of management hierarchies and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's fascinating, I think. You do have a better work-life balance, let's say, in-house, because you're not going to be overwhelmed. And if you are, you can just say, right, I'll do it tomorrow. You might have a market manager or something like that, but it won't be as intense as agency work, because at the end of the day, if that work in-house doesn't get done that day, it's still going to be there tomorrow. They're not going to go, right, fuck off, you're fired, and replace you. I mean, that can happen if you're shit, but if you're good, they're generally going to be like, yeah, just be groovy and get it done, So that's my way of looking at it. The cons of in-house can get a bit boring. Remember, you are working on the same company all the time, unless it's something like, this is a caveat, unless it's something like where I used to work for Estee Lauder companies. They had loads of brands under their belt, so you're always working on different brands. So they're, if you work for Johnson & Johnson, or they like Unilever, they've got massive load of brands under their umbrella. So it can be an in-house role like that. Generally, though, if it's something like an in-house role where it's one company that does one thing, you will just be doing all their stuff, and it turns into almost an artworking job. Like I said, it's almost like the small agency where you're a designer, artworker, copywriter, web designer. The kind of in-house role could kind of be a bit more of a jack of all trades as well. So it's worth considering. And also with in-house as well, there's always the possibility they're going to go to an agency to get a rebrand or whatever, and you're not going to get to do it. And then you're going to be doing the stuff they tell you to do, like almost adopting the mantle of maintenance designer and slash art worker. So yeah, that can be a bit disappointing, to be fair, because you'd expect they'd give it to you as a in-house guy, but there's no guarantee of that. So So moving on to freelance, which is what I currently do. Okay, the pros: more flexibility. That's a pro. That's definitely a pro. I mean, it's more flexible, but there is a caveat to that, and the caveat is, I'll get to it in the cons. But yeah, you do have to do the work. You're not stuck in an office. I mean, I work here, but I could take my laptop and go wherever. I just don't bother. I could. I've got the option to, and I used to do that when one of my clients had a UK office. I used to go and work in their office a little bit, but it's, once you got me set up in here, it's fine. It's not necessary, and I can just take a walk whenever I want. Stop the clock and go for a bike ride. It's pretty nice. But as long as you're getting the work done, and I think personally that's how jobs should be. But it's difficult to get away from kind of insecure managerial structures where they feel like they need to be in control of the individual at a very granular level. But it shouldn't be like that. I think freelance and job, I think there should be that much difference, to be honest. But anyway, as reality stands, freelance is a bit more flexible in terms of what you can do with your day, with your time during the day. And it is more rewarding because you're kind of eating what you kill. And there's nothing like that. It's a good feeling when someone either comes to you or you go to someone and you kind of click and you get some work done together, and it's nice, good work. And it's lovely as well because you're kind of really, you're maintaining your relationship with that, because you if you're doing good work for those people and they're happy with it, and it kind of, the relationship is very important, but the work is what kind of it kind of glues you together. So it's a bit of both. You need to have a good relationship with the person and the people, but also you need to be doing that stellar creative to make sure that they're happy with what you do. So yeah, and also, there's always a possibility you can always hunt down more business if you want to expand. You can kind of grow into an agency yourself, a little mini agency, and hire people if you're savvy and you know what you're doing. So yeah, there's always that possibility for growth, which you wouldn't get in someone else's agency, because then you'd be growing their business rather than your own. Cons of freelance now, the dark side. No job security. The clients can always get rid of you whenever they want. And then they can do that if you're in-house or if you're in an agency, to be fair. So I say there's no job security. Perhaps there's no illusion of security. That's one thing to consider. So, there's no illusion of job security. And is that pro or con? I didn't think about that when I wrote that down. But there you go. Something to consider. But I would recommend not going freelance straight away. I would recommend getting some agency experience or some in-house experience, building some contact networks up. I went freelance because of the pandemic, but I would say it's tough. I mean, I did start off freelance after I graduated, because I wanted to get experience, and I figured if I just position myself as a freelancer and just email people and ask around, people will start giving you stuff, and it does happen. And the same, my mate Rich did the exact same thing. He went around knocking on doors, and that's what you got to do. So yeah, no illusion of job security. That's the caveat. So you have to work hard to develop your own clients, and you do develop your own clients. You're kind of saying, like, do you need anything else? Not in an annoying way, but if you manage to find a client who's got a good business, they're always going to inevitably need stuff, because they're going to be marketing and growing that business. So they're developing their business, and you were then developing them as a client, and that's where we can kind of maybe push it further into an agency type model. But I'm pretty happy as I am. Some actually not as flexible as you think. Sometimes it can be not quite as flexible as you think, because you still need to get the work done, and the work still needs to be done well. You're going to have to spend inevitably time at your desk doing the work. So yeah, there is that. It's not that you're going to be able to sit on the beach all day getting paid to do jack shit. You're going to be sweating over the work, and you're going to be working harder and putting yourself under more pressure, because this is your life, baby. This is what you chose, and this is what you wanted. This is what you asked for. Don't complain when you get it. Not that I ever would. I love my clients. They're amazing people. And then there's always a possibility to hire the client might just hire an in-house designer because it might work out a bit cheaper or whatever. And so it depends on the client, really. But yeah, there's always that possibility, and you could get replaced. But then that's the same with the job, and the same with anything. There is no guarantees in life. And I always say, take away from this, if you're looking to start out on your creative career and your journey, what I would say is just keep an open mind, and then these are all the options, this is all the pros and cons of everything, but take what you can get when you're starting off, because you can always keep applying if you're not happy. Don't just go, that's in-house, I don't want it. Don't be picky, You think of yourself as a beggar, not a chooser, and take whatever comes along. And when you're in a position to choose, then do choose. If you're in a job and another job comes along and you're not quite feeling it, then fair enough, But keep your options open. Make sure, put yourself first as well, because and your prioritize your mental health, prioritize your physical health, and remember, the body is the key to life. So anyway, without going too off topic, I think we've come to the end of this discussion now. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And always appreciate also a like and a subscribe. All the best at your creative journey. Take care. Namaste. God bless you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.